What's up everybody, my name is Brandon, welcome back to my channel. So obviously today we're doing things a little differently. As you all know, it is now October, otherwise known as Spooktober, and I just thought that I would do something different on my channel to really get everyone in the Halloween spirit. So I am going to be sharing 8 stories in the month of October of things that have either happened to me or to people that I know and love. Some would say that these stories are, how do I say, fucking terrifying and very scary. I've told a lot of my friends and even some of my students some of these stories, and they cannot believe that they are real. And if they had not happened to me, then I don't know if I would believe it either, because they are very terrifying and it just seems utterly impossible that this would happen. However, it has, and I seem to be a magnet for things like this. I don't know what it is, but I'm a magnet for it. So the first story that I'm going to be sharing with you all is the revenge-seeking evicted tenant. Now, if this story sounds scripted, it's because it is. I had to write all of these stories down because otherwise I would be scared that I would forget things that have happened, or forget where the story was going, or just forget the story entirely if it's one that has happened to someone I know. So I wrote all of these down, printed them out, and I'm going to be reading them to you all, and hopefully you enjoy it and you don't get too spooked out. So, without further ado, here is the revenge-seeking evicted tenant. In 2018, my boyfriend Jonathan and I moved into our first apartment together. We were so excited that we would have our own place and finally be quote-unquote adults. However, it didn't take long in our new apartment to spot the complex's resident weirdo. He lived in our building on the 3rd floor. He was in his late 50s, early 60s, and had a face that seemed to lack all emotion. He drove an incredibly rusty old truck and would go outside to feed the wild cats in the area every day. He seemed harmless. Weird, but harmless. One day, Jonathan and I get back home from work and he is outside, standing beside his truck. His eyes are glued to us and shivers run down my spine. Jonathan tells me that he doesn't want to go out of the car because he's freaked out. And I don't want to let him know that I'm on edge too, so I reassure him that 1, we're in the open, 2, it's daylight, and 3, nothing bad is going to happen. We get out of the car and I open the trunk to get my backpack because I was planning on grading my students' vocabulary quizzes. And when I close the trunk and look up, the creepy old man is right in front of me. His eyes are wide, as if he just saw something that unnerved him. I jump and say, "Oh, I'm sorry, you scared me. Is everything okay?" "No," he responds. "That woman that just moved into the 4th floor is such a bitch, right?" His voice reminds me of one I've heard before, but I couldn't put my finger on it. "Well, sir, I haven't actually met her. Is there..." "She called the office about these cats, and now they're going to call animal control on them." "Oh, wow, I'm so sorry." "Yeah, I just figured you guys would feel the same way. This place is a fucking hellhole and they've gone to shit in the past year." He puts his hands up to his mouth as if he's about to tell us a secret. "I used to work for them, you know. I'd open and close up the pools and clean up a bit around the property. They fired me a few months back. Once they found out about my lifestyle. They don't get our lifestyle," he says, moving his finger around to point at himself, Jonathan, and I. I assumed that he meant because we are gay men, but even now I'm not entirely sure. "Damn, that's fucked up," Jonathan says, trying to edge his way closer to the apartment door. "Yeah, they're all just a bunch of cocksuckers, and I hope that new bitch hears that," he says, and at this point I realize where I've heard his voice before. The A Nightmare on Elm Street films. He sounded just like Freddy Krueger. Jonathan says, "Well, I hope it's not too bad. I start working there on Monday." "Well, good luck. Try to keep your personal business quiet, otherwise you might be out of a job. Just don't turn into one of those assholes or karma may come back to get you," the old man said, chuckling to himself. Jonathan and I nervously laugh as well. "Well, good luck with the cats. We'll see you around," I say, putting my hand on Jonathan's lower back and lightly pushing him toward our apartment. "Alright guys, nice talking to you," he said, still chuckling to himself. Although it was more creepy than joyous, it reminded me of the Joker from Batman. A maniacal laugh. A month passes and we see the old man occasionally. The cats were still there, so we figured things worked out for him. However, We haven't had another conversation with him, thankfully. Jonathan managed to keep his job at the office, and that's when we heard the news. Evicted? I asked Jonathan when he came home from work one day. Why are they evicting him? Well, my boss says that the office receives harassing calls from him on a weekly basis. Even some of the tenants have reported being harassed by him. I mean, yeah, he's creepy, but is that enough to evict him? I guess so. They gave him a week to get all his shit and move. A week? That's not legal. Well, actually, they found a loophole. They couldn't legally evict him under such short notice unless they were, really bad circumstances, but they just waited until it was time for his contract renewal for the lease, and they denied him. Are you serious? That's really fucked up. Yeah, I thought so too. A week later, Jonathan was at the office, and the old man came in to return his keys. Jonathan was at the front desk and had already phoned for the manager. But the old man started whispering things under his breath. Get out of here. They're fucking cocksuckers, all of them. Get out. The manager comes in, grabs the keys, and escorts the creepy old man out of the building. A week went by, and we hadn't seen any trace of the old man. Jonathan and I are watching TV around midnight one night when I hear a knock at the door. I pause the show, thinking it may be a neighbor, complaining that our TV is too loud. I look through our peephole to see the creepy old man staring back at me. A smile covers his face, but it's unnatural. I've never seen a smile so big in my life, and it makes my whole body run cold. I start to stumble back from the door. Jonathan sees that I'm pale with fear. Babe, what's wrong? He whispers. It's the old man, I whisper, tears welling up in my eyes. Jonathan gets off the couch and stands behind me. We're both facing the door. The man knocks again, and it startles me back to reality. I start walking to the kitchen, and I grab all the knives that I can. I tell Jonathan to go into the bathroom, which is the only room without a window, and call the police. I start to walk to the bathroom too when I hear keys start jangling against our door. I look back to find that the security bolt was not folded against the door. Now this works like a hotel room security bolt where someone can use a key to open the deadbolt, but as long as the security bolt is across the door, it won't open fully. I silently make my way over to the door, knife in hand, and slowly fold the security bolt across the door. As soon as it touches, the old man bangs into the door, making me jump back a bit, almost dropping the knife. Then it went quiet. No keys, no knocks, no bangs. Whispering. Come on, boys. Let me in. It's just me. Come on. It's karma. If I wasn't utterly freaked out before, I am now. I run to the bathroom and close the door quietly so he doesn't hear us moving around and know where we are. Jonathan has already gotten off the phone with the 911 operator, and she said the police were on their way. 5 minutes pass and it's still quiet, so Jonathan wants me to go check if the man is still there. I look through the peephole and don't see anything. I sigh with relief, but then I think to check the parking lot to see if his truck is there. I go to our guest room with a view of the parking lot and peer through the blinds. His truck is parked right next to my vehicle, and I see that he's in the driver's seat of the truck. He's staring at me. Well, I can't be 100% sure, but it looks as if we've locked eyes. I don't want to move out of fear that I'd be giving myself away in the off chance that he wasn't already looking at me. He opens his truck door, and that breaks me from the stupefied state. I ran back to the bathroom and told Jonathan to lock the door. I fill him in on the information. About 3 minutes pass before we hear a banging on the door. We freeze, holding our breath out of fear that he'd be able to hear our hearts pounding in our chest. But then we hear, "County police." I go and check the peephole. It is an officer, so I open it and tell him what's going on. The officer said he saw the truck outside, but no one was in it. He said he was going to look around the apartment and see what he could find. Jonathan and I continue to camp out in the bathroom. All of the lights in our apartment are now off. We wait to hear from the officer, but within 10 minutes, we start to hear crazed screaming, almost demonic noises, hisses, coughs, screams, laughs, etc. My heart drops, and I'm overcome with more fear than before. What is going on? 5 minutes later, a police officer came to our door and said that he found the man in the vacant apartment directly above ours. When the officer got there, the man was standing, facing a corner and laughing under his breath. When the officer put the handcuffs on him, he began thrashing about, screaming, hissing, etc. The officer told us that he had him in the cruiser, and they arrested him on breaking and entering charges. When the police officer left, we checked the front of our door, where there were now dents from the man's keys. He struck our door with him after being unable to get in. The next day, we went upstairs with the manager of the apartment complex, and we saw a small hole in the floor of the bathroom in that apartment. Apparently, the man must have known that we were hiding in our bathroom, and he was trying to get in there from the ceiling above us. Luckily, he didn't have any heavy-duty tools to do the trick. This hole was made by a screwdriver being stabbed into the linoleum floor over and over again. So that's it for the revenge-seeking evicted tenant. I hope you all enjoyed my pain and suffering. Again, I cannot believe that this story happened to me, but it did. And I'm going to include some clips in a few seconds that show what was happening that night. I recorded some on my Instagram story, and so it's very creepy, and I hope you all will stay safe out there and make sure you remember to lock all of your doors and do not ever talk to the weird guy in your apartment complex. That's it for this week's video. If you liked it, please make sure to give it a big thumbs up. Also, subscribe to my channel if you haven't already, and hit that post notification bell so you're notified every time I post a new video. My name's Brandon, and I'll see you all next time. Bye. Hey guys, so Johnny and I are currently hiding in our bathroom because there's this crazed man at our door banging and trying to open it. Oh, it's the police. Okay, hang on. Okay, so the police department is here. They haven't found him yet. His car is still parked outside of our apartment. He knows that Johnny works here, and he's trying to cause problems because he was just evicted. So he started off by knocking on our door, and then that escalated into him trying to open the door. I don't know if he had keys or what, but it sounded like he was like jingling something. I was like freaked out, so I had to like lock the deadbolt, and we just ran to the bathroom because it's like the only place that doesn't have a window in it, and locked the door and called 911. And so the police are here, the manager of the apartment complex is here, and we're just waiting for them to find him, which is scary. Trying to talk without shaking. Like, my heart was pounding. I feel a little better now that the police are here, but we were scared out of our fucking minds. Like, he just came banging on our doors, and we were sitting right there on the couch. I was scared he had a knife or a gun. But the reason he came and talked to Johnny is because, one, he knows Johnny works here, but Johnny is the only person that works for the apartment complex that lives here. But Johnny doesn't know anything about him getting evicted. He doesn't have keys, he doesn't have anything, so I don't know why he would be coming to our apartment complex. So another creepy ass story just arose. So right above us, we're in 118 and 218. The apartment complex is apparently always left open, and we just heard footsteps and stuff from up there, but we didn't know that. So now, like, we think he's in there hiding. I'm scared he's just gonna come and like break a window because we are on the first fucking floor. He could like climb in our window at night and like fucking kill us. Oh, y'all, it is not a good thing. I am freaked the fuck out. So here is his truck right here, and look where he parked, right beside my car. What a lovely, lovely surprise.